Hello, welcome back. It's Sarah from Roadworthy. Well, I'm here in Florida. I made it. Um, so it is not humid in the Pacific Northwest, and when on days where it like maybe slightly gets a little humid, and my husband will say, "Oh, it's muggy," and I'll be like, "Stop! Like you cannot say that word because it's so not muggy," you know. And I got off the plane yesterday, and I was like, "Oh, oh, oh." It's muggy. And thankfully, Hurricane Helene is coming tomorrow. And so it's cooling off and the humidity is dropped and there's a little breeze starting to pick up. So it's actually kind of pleasant. My mother and I are out here reading over by the pond. My mother's down there and she said, "Do not put me on camera." So I would have been like, "There's my mother," but no, she's not on camera. So I don't have any of my books here because, for obvious reasons. But I finished 3 books this week. So I will tell you about those. So I finally picked up Black Butterflies by Priscilla Morris. This was long listed, I believe, for the Women's Prize last year. And this was sort of one of the few books I was kind of interested in. And finally, my library got it, so I picked it up. And I was mostly interested in it because it is about a woman during the siege of Sarajevo. Um, and I feel like it's not really, I feel like, I was sort of young and oblivious during the Bosnian War um, or I should say the Balkan Wars. And I feel like I don't really know that much about it. And so I was intrigued. So we follow our main character, Zora, who is an artist. Her daughter is married to a Brit, and so she lives in England. At sort of the early on before the siege, her husband and elderly mother go to England to visit their daughter, and Zora stays behind and is like, "I'll catch up with you." She wanted to take care of some things, and she was an artist, a painter. And then things escalate and she sort of gets trapped in Sarajevo. And so it's really a lot about her and her neighbors, and sort of what they do to sort of make it through the siege and both physically, mentally, all of those things. And there's definitely a message of art as healing and as a coping mechanism. So she and one of the young daughters in the apartment building paint on the walls. Zora herself, when her paints are used up, she starts making collages with whatever can be found. There's a man in the apartment building who's writing down fables and stuff and sharing them around, the stove at night, kind of a thing. So it's mostly about that. There's a little bit about her being Serbian, her neighbors, some of them being Bosnian, Muslim Bosnians. But more of suspicions by Serb nationalists what was she doing staying in Sarajevo that long? She should have been, if she was loyal to the cause, she would have left a long time ago. And a lot about just sort of pride in the multicultural character of Sarajevo before the war. So I liked it. I mean, it was a good story. It was quick. I enjoyed it. Was it like, doing anything new as historical fiction? No. But, it definitely was like kind of what you would expect from that genre. How's that? That sounds really negative, and I don't mean it to be, but like, it was good, but it was what it was, And then I listened to God of the Woods by Liz Moore, and this is sort of making its way around BookTube. So this is a dual timeline story where the current timeline is in 1975, and Barbara Van Laar goes missing from her posh camp in the Adirondacks. And this camp is part of the Van Laar family's nature preserve. So we have the what happened to Barbara drama. So we have, her camp counselor, some of her friends at camp giving their point of view. We have one of the investigators involved in the case with her point of view. And then we have sort of flashbacks to 1961 when Barbara's brother, Bear, went missing from the Van Laar Preserve, and his body was never found. So, and then we get sort of their mother's perspective, Alice, and it was a book that, for me, it started off a little bit slow, and the two timelines were very separate. The two stories were very separate. But once it becomes clear these cases are related, for me, this book really picked up steam and really got far more interesting. Some of the nuances of the characters started to really come out. Again, the plot was really moving forward. So for me, this was an interesting, fun crime thriller. What I will say, this is the second Liz Moore book that I've read, and I will say she does characters very well, which to me, I really enjoy. Her books don't feel like all plot to me. They feel much more well balanced and nuanced than what I think of as most crime thrillers. So really, really enjoyable, and I think that speaks to why it's making its rounds around BookTube. The last book was The Most by Jessica Anthony, and this is a novella that is currently on the National Book Award long list. This may be a gross oversimplification, but I feel like and I quickly looked at Goodreads, it seemed to be getting a lot of 2-star, 3-star reviews. And then I feel like once it got selected by the National Book Award, suddenly it's getting 4 and 5-star reviews. It's that idea that a book prize, is a taste maker. right? And it suddenly gives its stamp of like, this is a good book that you should like. Slight soapbox there, but whatever. The Most. What is it about? This is about Kathleen and her marriage to Virgil. And they've got two boys, Nathan and Nicholas, and I don't know, they're in like first and third grade. I don't know, they're young. But she says, I'm not feeling well, and sends Virgil and the boys off to church. And she gets in the pool and decides she's not getting out of the pool. And it's not like she refuses in a like, no, I'm not coming out of the pool. Virgil comes home and he's like, hun, don't you think it's time to get out of the pool? And she'll say, no, I'm really enjoying it. I'm just going to stay in for a little bit longer. And all day long, she just, no, I'm just going to stay a little bit longer. And as the story goes on, you get her thoughts about how she and Virgil met and got married. You get, you learn more about Virgil's family. You learn a little bit about, the landlord of their apartment. The secrets start to come out. And I really liked this book. I thought this was really, really good. At first I was sort of reading it thinking, why is this on the National Book Award? But as it went on, and you could start to piece together sort of the dynamics going on underneath the surface. It started to become increasingly clear that this is a much more interesting book than it initially starts off and appears. So to me, it really starts to grow, and again, as secrets come out, for me, this turned into a page turner. And like, is there plot? No, she's in a pool. No. But again, I just found it pretty gripping, and I have seen a couple of people say I read this in one sitting, and I can easily see how that could happen. So I think it's definitely it's good, and I definitely would be interested in picking up anything else that Jessica Anthony writes, because this is definitely worthwhile in my book. So those are the 3 books that I finished. I've got a couple things still on the go. So The Rape of Europa by Lynn is still ongoing. I am reading Brief Lives by Anita Brookner, and I'm about halfway through, and something happened in my reading last night, and I'm like, whoa, wow, okay, here we go. So that is a good one. And The End of Active Service by Matt Young is the audiobook that I'm listening to. It's a debut about a guy, Brian? No. Oh my God, I forget the guy's name, who leaves the Marines, and this is him coming back to civilian life, and he's like 22, something like that. Really enjoying that book as well. So yeah, so that's what I got on the go. Hope you all are doing well. I will be back here in Florida next week. Here, we're on the Atlantic. We're over by St. Augustine, so it should be kind of, lots of rain here, but it kind of should be much more chill. So, talk to you next week. Bye.